Welcome back. So glad you're here. It's episode 7 about habits. My name is Deb Blum, and we're going to talk today about I don't know whether it's all going to happen in one episode or we're going to split this up, but we're going to talk about is the past and patterns and parts. Okay. I am a self-love and authenticity coach. I'm also the founder of and the guide at Self-Love Base Camp, which is a membership group for women who do too much but never feel like they're enough. And it's the guide, I'm the guide on the self-love journey that we all go on, that we all want to go on so that we can live our lives most authentically, really show up fully, really be our truest selves, speak our voice, and feel like we actually really do have control over our lives. Because we do. And this habit conversation is part of this, because often what we do when we start getting into some of the spaces of self-love, we kind of orient toward like gentleness and moving toward not pushing ourselves too hard, because we're trying to learn how to unpack from all the messages that we've gotten that we should do this and we should do that and we should do this and we should do that, right? I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And that is part of what I want to talk about today. Is I want to talk about the importance of exploring your relationship with habits from the past. So, like what have you done? Like, have you let yourself down a lot of times around habit formation and sticking with habits? What are the things from your past that make it harder for you to do some of the habits that are oriented toward, more enriching and healthy and positive ways of living? Like, for example, for me, I grew up with an association of sugar and sweets and treats as love. And because of that, I have a really hard time sometimes putting in habits that are related to that, because they're so much deeper. There's so much depth in it. So it's really important to understand that your past actually can be part of why it's hard for you to do things in the present. But the problem is that if you don't actually bring attention to it, then it can kind of sneak in. It's like the like trickster. There's a trickster that comes in, and I call it the ego trickster, which is that part of you that really wants to keep you safe and wants to keep you like feeling like you fit in and that you are loved. And so it sneaks in there, and it's like, no, like, I've heard this from people who want to stop drinking, that one of the biggest things is that there is a very strong part of them that really doesn't want to stop, because it's actually the connection that they make is social. That's like all their friends drink, all the people around them drink. So for them to separate from that, they're afraid they're going to lose friends. And then there's the element of not only that, but they also of course have maybe like physical reasons why they're drinking, because they're maybe addicted. And then the emotional reasons of like, well, why do I drink, right? The deeper reasons of why do I drink. So if we're trying to form a new habit of, say, drinking less alcohol, we might have a lot of other factors that we have to play into this. So looking at the past, looking at our patterns, so our own patterns for behavior, and then having conversations with those parts. That's kind of what we're really focusing on today. So I would encourage you to spend some time journaling or talking through with friends some of the aspects from your past and some of the patterns that have actually made it hard for you to do some of the things that you want to do in your life. The more that you actually take that out of your unconscious and you bring it into your conscious awareness, so you're actually literally just like, that's part of the plan, is to say, okay, I know that when I do this, when I get to Friday, it's going to be a little harder for me. So I'm going to have to build in some really important kind of almost like safeguards for myself, so that I don't get myself into the situation where it might be really hard for me to stick with my commitment to myself. And so we have to build that in. And then the next time we talk, we're going to be talking about this preparation phase, the planning that goes into a little more detail. And so this concept of looking at our patterns in our past will help us, because we can start to write down some of the risk areas, some of the ways that we've gotten tripped up in the past, and the ways that our past and our patterns sometimes make it hard for us to get what we want. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but there's a guy, Gay Hendricks, and he wrote the book, The Big Leap, and he talks about an upper limit problem. It's another thing to be looking at. Is sometimes what will happen is we'll start to build in new habits, and we'll get to the place where like our life is really going really well, and then all of a sudden, boom, we like notice we sabotage ourselves. And that is often an upper limit problem, meaning like how much happiness, how much goodness, how much positivity, how much like achievement and success can you handle? And often we have like a limit to what we can handle. Like if it feels too good, we just it's too much. And so exploring that as well. So sometimes there's like the element of like, you know, these things that we're afraid of on the like, you know, kind of negative side, but there also can be like, oh, it's just too hard to have this much love in our lives or this much success in our lives. So the more we pay attention to that, the better. Which leads me to this next piece, which is around parts. So the piece, the thing that's important to talk about is around parts is this, that each of us has many, many parts of ourselves. So there can be a part of you who really is positive that you want to do something. Like you know that you do really want to stop saying yes to everyone. Okay, so that's a habit that you want to form, one where you have more discernment and you're not going to do everything. So you want to break the busyness habit, okay? So the problem is that there is a reason why you keep yourself busy. And it might be because there's a part of you that really does want to please other people and you don't want to disappoint others. So there's a part of you that doesn't want to disappoint people. There's a part of you that is so afraid of someone abandoning you. There's another part of you that really wants to break through this so that you can have more freedom. There's another part of you that is enjoys being busy in some ways. There's another part of you that's really tired and wants rest. And so the more that you can actually jot down on a piece of paper the parts that are coming up, and then even as you're going through the habit forming process, that you continue to keep a log of like these voices that come up that have a you know, someone else might be like, you can't, some other part of you is like, you can't do this, you cannot do it. Or another part that's like, you need to do this, right? And so when you get a little bit more of a relationship with those different pieces of you, that those different parts within you, because you're not one cohesive like you are a part of you that has like conflicting thoughts and ideas and perspectives. And so the more that you can honor and acknowledge that all of those pieces and parts are here, and then you actually acknowledge like that they all can be here, that you don't have to just be like, get out of here, like, no, we're forging forward, but that you can actually sit down and have a conversation. I remember there's an episode of my parenting podcast where my co-host Jai Flicker walked me through the process of like when it came to working out, why it is that sometimes I just can't get myself to exercise. And then we talked about how, you know, there's a part of me that just doesn't want to, I'm just tired. And then another part of me that really does want to exercise. And so he helped me to see that like if I had that conversation with the part of me that doesn't want to, what would that part of me be tolerant of at that point? So what we realized is, oh, well, I think that the first thing I can do is put on my sneakers. So as soon as I put my sneakers on, then I started to feel less of that block. And I was more excited to go to the gym. So the point being that sometimes we just have to let that piece of us, the part that has resistance or the part that's afraid, have a little bit of a voice, and we get to just listen to them. You don't even have to tell them like, no, it's going to be okay. You just like listen. Oh, so you're afraid that like, you know, if we do that this is going to happen. I hear you. You know, and can we just give it a try and see what happens and see where it goes, you know, that kind of conversation. So, and really listening and tuning into those feelings that you're having, because what you may find is that if you actually allow yourself to feel some of the fear or feel some of the sadness or feel some of the grief, like if you allow those feelings to flow through you, you may actually find that some of it gets let go, and that you may find yourself more unencumbered by all these other patterns and things in the past. And you might find yourself feeling more excited and more on board with what it is that you want to be doing. So that is the concept behind the patterns past parts. I highly recommend that you bring that into the process with you, and that you try to let those parts have a voice and be with those parts as you're going through it. Don't expect that this is just going to be easy. Don't expect that just because you decided something that it's just going to be like, oh yeah, I decided I'm going to do it. It's not that way. We do need to kind of like work with ourselves through the process. So even 1 minute a day of meditation could activate some parts of you that have resistance. Like, what does meditation mean? Oh, well, I'm afraid that if I sit in silence and I'm going to remember things from my past I don't want to remember. So your ego defense mechanism, your little trickster comes in and is like, nope, no. We're not going to let you go into those spaces. That doesn't feel safe. So then you might have to talk to that part of you and say, well, maybe I'm ready. Maybe I'm ready to hear things that are hard for me, or feel feelings that were hard for me, or remember things that were hard for me. So we have to be in dialogue. So that is a part of this. And don't forget that this is a part of it, because I'm telling you, it will be a critically important part to your success in habit formation. All right. Thanks, everyone. The next time we are going to talk about the actual preparation for our habit formations.